Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first STEM chat interview. I've got the author, Terri Selting David of the Renegade Spy Project. We reviewed that in our first episode, and it's also on a blog review up on the Adafruit blog. Welcome, Terri.
Hi. See you guys.
So, Terri, you are the co-founder of the Renegade Girls Tinkering Club in San Francisco. Can you tell us more about it and what inspired you to write this first STEM novel series?
Yeah. So about five and a half years. Oh no, gosh, it might be 6 years ago now. My friend Vicky and I were we decided to get together and create a summer camp that has since moved to after school as well, to sort of create an environment to help girls who have interest in science and engineering and technology and math, and sort of give them a safe space, their own space to sort of create and invent and make with their hands, where they don't have to feel intimidated and they can feel really welcome and be with the community of their peers. So that was our idea behind starting the Renegade Girls Tinkering Club. We've since moved into after-school projects as well as summer camps, and have also opened a co-ed division because we had a lot of parents who have both a boy and a girl who wanted to bring their kids to the same camp, but we still run our girls-only camps as well. And we really wanted to make sure that these would be places that weren't just like a program painted pink. We don't think that the only thing that appeals to a girl is pink and princesses. Though there are some, completely valid interests in those realms, and that's perfectly okay. But there are girls who are interested in these things who aren't into that. And the only way to reach girls, those aspects are not the only way to reach girls. So we invented, and I write all the curriculum. And when I work on the curriculum, I'm really trying to do what I call planting seeds. I'm trying to help scaffold things that girls may not traditionally get in traditional play. Like if you've got a bunch of cars and you're shooting them down a ramp and trying to go over a mud puddle, you're going to be planting the seeds for concepts later, like acceleration and velocity. You're going to be exercising your spatial perception while you're playing with this car. So if for whatever reason you don't happen to be somebody who likes playing with cars, or your friends don't like playing with cars, or you don't get cars for Christmas, then you're not going to get those seeds. Mm-hmm. So our idea with this program was to find ways to plant those seeds so that when the girls come into, they're addressed with the concepts for the first time of acceleration, they have something to connect it to.
So what ages can girls and boys start this program?
We usually, in the summer, we can take kindergartners. I'm sorry, in the summer, we usually take first graders. And our main group is first graders to third graders. Mm-hmm. And then in the after school program, sometimes we have to take kindergartners because it's a much smaller group. So in order to get enough kids to run the program, sometimes we have, we broaden our range a little bit, but we still mostly get mainly first graders. So, which brings me to why I extended it, is that we really wanted to sort of reach kids outside of San Francisco and reach kids outside of our age range, because the kind of things that keep girls from going into STEM fields change. There are so many. It's such a complex problem that the problems that they face when they're in kindergarten or in first grade are very different than the problems that they face with when they're going into middle school or they become tweens. So between the ages of 9 and 12 is this section, and historically, girls really lose confidence in this time, and they really want to be part of a community, and they really want social interaction, and they're also voracious readers. So that's why I thought about, how do I reach those girls? As my own daughter started to enter that phase, and I started seeing the challenges she was facing. How do we introduce women who have done this in the past? How do we show them good role models, real role models? I mean, there are lots of books out there that have wonderful, strong girls, but a lot of them are fantasy novels or superhero novels. And these girls are great. They're going to these special secret schools and they're strong and confident. But my daughter didn't feel like that. My daughter, you know, she's going to a great school, but it's a normal school with normal kids. And she didn't feel like a superhero. And she didn't have magic powers. So I wanted to give her people that she could look up to too. Kids who were going through the same problems she was. So I thought about taking the projects that we had and wrapping them into a storyline, giving them context and purpose, and wrapping them into a storyline for with these characters that kids could actually relate to. So then as I was writing them, I thought, what a great way to sort of introduce things like the engineering design principle in action. And, you know, show kids how, when I see kids in the camp who are having trouble with persistence, that's a big one with this. I think it's this time, you know, kids really have a trouble with persistence. So having them, showing girls who are having trouble with persistence and how they get through it, you know, maybe give some sort of inspiration to them. So that was the inspiration to writing the books, really trying to reach these kids in a place that they could understand.
So Terri, I will say, because our girls go to the same school, that now they're 12, I think it has made a difference, because you've actually had Chloe come and do some of these test projects when you were thinking about doing the club back when they were 5. And so she's done the summer camps. And I think there is something about having these kids when they're young, especially girls, be free. And you're free to make mistakes. You're free to play with, like, you know, circuits, and you're free to play with anything, and you understand all this stuff. And I think it's really helped her a lot in science and math, now that she's in, you know, 7th grade. So thank you.
Oh, that's so great to hear.
I think it's working.
So Terri, tell me a little bit about your book. How did you select the spy theme, and what inspired you to come up with the 9 projects?
Yeah, so all of my curriculum that I write for the club have themes. So we've got like the science of magic, and spies was one of our absolutely popular curriculum. So all the projects were there, and they had been tested thoroughly through a couple, you know, summers and 100 kids or so doing them, that I got a really good sense of which projects the kids really liked, and which, you know, maybe were a lot harder to do, and which ones were easier and had fewer things that you had to get. So my criteria were things kids were really liked and could handle mostly independently. And I was going for an older audience, so I felt more confident using projects that maybe the little kids didn't necessarily get by themselves, but the older ones could. I wanted to do whenever I make a curriculum, I make sure that to pick projects that exercise different parts of the brain, different, you know, visual spatial exercises is one of my biggest things. Okay. Then there's also the other things. You know, how much do they do a guided build? Like, do you walk them through step by step, or how much freedom do they have to invent on their own? Those are both very valuable processes. So I try and mix them together. So when I picked the projects for this particular one, I went to the spy curriculum, and I picked out ones that parents could get, you know, easy access to the materials for the most part. And then also ones that would appeal to the kids, and that they really liked. So, but then as I started with the projects, and I made the characters. And as I was writing, I realized that I needed some new things. So I invented some new projects just for the book, and ended up wrapping those into a new spy curriculum. So it's kind of like back and forth. It was really fun. So I took the new projects, like the spy lollipop, and I put that into a new spy curriculum, and then had a chance to see how the kids actually reacted to the projects. It was really fun.
That's great. I wish there was like a little book club or something so you could do the projects together with your friends.
Yeah, that would be
Zoom.
so fun. Yeah.
So I think you mentioned to me that you're working on the second book right now, and that includes sewing. And so the three of us are like avid sewers. Can you tell us about book number 2, and when do we think it'll come out?
Oh, absolutely. So you guys know, so I've been a sewer since I was really small when I was a kid, and none of the grown-up clothes, big kid clothes fit me. So my grandma taught me how to sew. And just, I mean, you guys know just the power that you get from being able to make your own stuff and then wear it. It's just so empowering and exciting and fun. And this, back to the planting seeds. Oh my gosh, the stem-based seeds you get from sowing. You've got, crazy geometry and math that go into all these shapes when they're flat and then they become 3D. And how do they go together? That's just crazy visual spatial exercise. And then the persistence. How do you get a seam to lie flat? You've got all these bubbly seams, and you got to redo it and pull your seam and then do it again. The persistence is crazy. So I really wanted to bring that to the kids. So that was one of the very first curriculums I made, was one called Wearable Tinkering. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea was to take fashion and use it to teach kids, to teach kids some concepts and really exercise, because there's so many wonderful traditionally women's based crafts, like the amount of math that goes into quilting or knitting or crochet. Oh my gosh. And they're devalued, in the STEM world, I think. And I wanted to bring value to that. So when I was when I was like, 4.5 years ago, when I was putting together the idea for these books, I knew that one had to be in there, that curriculum. But so it was all about that. It was all about, you can still be fashionable and be a scientist. That was a really, you can wear a princess dress and solve equations. They're not mutually exclusive. But I feel like in the last 5 or 4.5 years, that I feel like that particular concept, there's been a lot more awareness brought to it. So, sorry, the kittens. So I feel like in the last 4 years or so, a lot more awareness has come to the idea that you can wear whatever you want and be a scientist. So when I was writing the book with that as my theme, it really wasn't resonating. I felt like I was rehashing things that other people have talked about very well. But what really did come out was that this book is about Amber, who is she's very fashionable, but she's also she's a scientist, and she loves nature, and she wants to be a biologist or an ecologist when she grows up, but she loves fashion. So the conflict that I found there is in fast fashion, and just a terrible, terrible toll that fast fashion takes. And I'm like, now this is something that would really resonate with her and with kids, something that probably kids today are just so much more aware of the whole science behind what's happening to the world and what we're doing to it. So that really became a big central theme in the book. But it's an avenue to talk about all these wonderful things and introduce concepts like, how clothing is put together, and the patterns, the math behind patterns, and what you can do with simple weaving patterns, and that kind of stuff. So that's really sort of that's the motivation. I sent it off to the editor about a week ago, and for the, 4th round of editing.
Well, congrats. That's great news.
Congratulations.
So I'm hoping at the beginning of next year.
Oh, wow.
That sounds great. Wow.
Okay, well, let us know when it comes out.
Absolutely.
I think we've had some friends pick up the book, and their 12-year-olds love it. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so this episode is about math. So we were wondering if there are any math projects or things in particular that you like, since you've been guiding so many children.
Yeah. So math is really interesting. It's not my particular strong suit. I'm more of an engineering and technology kind of person. But But math is such a foundational tool for everything. And I think that, interesting story. I love to put things that exercise, like I've been saying, that exercise the visual spatial things, but also patterning and other math concepts. So one of the big things is origami. I love origami. It's so good for exercising the brain. And I put that in one of my curriculum, and we had a lot of pushback from parents about, I don't want my kid playing. They're supposed to be learning math. And what that really taught me was that, that a lot of kids are very resistant to math. And when you approach it as a game first, and then you say, hey, guess what? You are doing math. This patterning, this weaving, this, putting together patterns, counting things, sorting things, these are all math. And then they kind of, a light bulb goes on and say, well, I thought math was numbers. And some kids really love the numbers and really love the riddle of an equation. But some don't. And the way to get to the ones who don't is to show them that equations are tools. They're tools to get to something bigger. And if you show them the something bigger, and you allow them to play, and you allow them to say, origami is really fun, and origami is math, instead of, you can either do math or origami. And I think that as grown-ups, we've been taught that a lot. We were taught equations. So that's what we think. So it's hard. I get how parents are resistant to that. Specifically, some of the things that we really find that they love are art projects with math. Doing things like, I personally love making shapes, cubes and stuff out of paper. I find that the kids don't like that as much unless you give them something else. We had them draw faces and feet and tails, and then fold it up and see if they put them in the right places. And that really helps exercise their spatial folding. And it's fun. It's like a little puzzle, and you get a little paper animal out of it. And things like infinity tiles are super easy, super quick, and the kids like them. You take just a bunch of same size squares and you fold them so that you find the center, and then you have half an inch each thing, and then you just connect them in any way that you want. And then you can put them together into a puzzle and make rows or stop rows. All of the tiles fit together. If you put a connecting point at each tile in the same place, it doesn't matter what's in the middle. And the kids really, that's, especially the younger kids, they draw on it and they try and fool it, and then they put it together, and it creates this really neat pattern, this map, almost like a maze. And they really like that.
That's neat.
That sounds so cool.
I wish I could go to your camp when I was little. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Right, that's what we do, right? We try and make things that we wanted and help people respond to them.
Well, I think that's so cool, the stuff you're doing, and we're so excited to have you here on our show. Please, thank you for joining us, and then let us know when your next book comes out, and we'd love to have you come on again.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love what you're doing.
Thank you, Terri.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.